And we're live. Let me just double check real quick. Make sure everything sounds okay. Coming through on the YouTubes here. Perils will live stream. Make sure I don't have a robot voice or something. And am I live? It says I'm live. Hasn't popped up on the YouTube yet. Here we go. All right. Everything sounds okay. I'll try and keep an eye on the chat. Let me know if my voice is getting distorted or something. All right. I might take a caller or two towards the end of this because I didn't do enough callers last night because I just got caught up in Black James' topic. Not even his fault. He rambled on as he tends to do, but I muted him and then I rambled on. So, like I said, I might take a caller. You can go ahead and message me on the Skypes, as Cantwell likes to say, and I'll see about bringing you on. Maybe. I'm not promising nothing. So the voting thing in France, the voting thing, yeah, that's really elegant. The election in France, Le Pen lost, Macaroni won, or whatever the fuck the guy's name is. The dude with the 150-year-old wife. I mean, I figured that's what it would be. That's why I called last night's stream cheese-eating surrender monkeys. I mean, that's sort of the reputation the French have, isn't it? And, if France is to be saved as anything that is French in any meaningful sense, it'll have to be blood in the streets at this point. And I don't know if they have it in them, but we'll see. That's their problem. I mean, I can't say my mostly German blood gives much of a shit if France goes away. I mean, it would be a shame that, a center of culture, but falls to the sword of Islam, but they brought it on themselves. They chose this. This is the path that they have chosen. Every death that happens from the result of these savage goat fuckers, you chose that. There'll be no more, not for me, there'll be no more, thoughts and prayers and Facebook post changings. And not that I did a lot of that shit for this crap anyways. I've long since been in the camp of, when are you going to do something about it? But, it's fuck you, you want to be, you voted for rape gangs running through the street. We'll see. I certainly hope the nations of Europe turn themselves around, and but we'll see. I mean, they long ago rejected God, so it's no surprise that they now embrace death, because that's what it leads to. I know a lot of there's quite a few fedoras and shit in the alt-right that want to be, oh, God is dead and Christianity's cuck and slave morality and all that stuff. Yeah. And what happens when white people turn from it? They end up on their knees for fucking Muslim dick. That's what happens. And those are the men. So, fuck you. Fuck them. I don't. Maybe there'll be enough actual real French people among the youth to just pick up arms. I mean, I don't know if I could legally get in trouble for saying this, but if you're a young French youth, I think you ought to just fucking shoot this macaroni dude. Go be a hero. Like that one Japanese youth that fucking plunged the sword into the communist that was running for office. Yeah, go do that shit. If you don't have like wives or kids, you don't know what to do with your life, go fucking do that shit. I morally, I think that's fine at this point. You're an occupied nation. Okay? Today, you had a choice of being ruled by one of two women, either Le Pen or Merkel. and you're an occupied nation. I don't believe, morally speaking, there's any as a God-fearing Christian man, I don't believe you are under any obligation to follow the law in there, because there is no law. And I don't know if I can get in trouble for saying that. I don't know if that's technically illegal to be advocating for the death of a duly elected official. I mean, yeah, it's not in my country, so I could probably get away with it. But yeah, fucking shoot him. Do it. Do it. Yeah. Hell, if you could pretend to be a Muslim and do it, that'd be even better. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That's y'all's problem. That's you frogs. Go ahead and do it. Figure your shit out. Somebody says, am I taking callers tonight? Yeah, I mentioned earlier I may take callers later. So message me on Skype if you want in line. I'm not promising anything, but I didn't get to as many callers as I intended because I got caught up in rambling on about Youngblood and Image and Rob Liefeld, which I could ramble on for hours. Anyways, the one thing I want to talk about now, last night I had a rant against Richard Spencer because Richard Spencer is a piece of shit. And if you disagree with me, you're wrong. And I don't really even want to hear it at this point. And there was somebody in the comments, and it was so fucking pathetic. I almost couldn't tell if this was fake, but he was like, oh, Richard Spencer's a loser. And, he made fun of me because I had lost a job recently, because, as opposed to Spencer, who basically never had a job. And then he's like, this movement's so full of losers who aren't loyal. And it's amazing a talented man like Spencer wastes his time leading such a movement. And I'm like, I don't know if this is a troll or not. I really don't, because that's fucking pathetic. But I delete it because I'm tired of the Spencer dick riders. It's unexcusable at this point. And what I was thinking about today, I was in church. Now, I don't really know a lot of people in my church right now. I've only kind of recently settled on this church. I was bouncing around from church to church to church after, leaving the last church, and more than a few instances of just attending St. Mattress. God forgive me, but it's a day of rest, and I generally don't like to get up in the morning if I'm not being paid to. But I finally settled in on this church, and I've been going for a little bit here. I don't really know anybody because I don't know. I'm kind of cold to people until I'm a little slow to warm up to people. I mean, when I'm cool with you, I'll send you fucking gifts of amazing atheist dancing. I don't, I'm not shy then, but I'm slow to warm up to people. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sitting in church, and again, I don't know a lot of people. Most of the people I know are refugees from my former church that I quit and then was invited back to just so I could be thrown out of. But I'm looking around at these people, and I'm noticing something. This church is almost entirely white. I mean, I think there's like there was one couple in there I saw that looked kind of like a light-skinned Hispanic, maybe kind of more even Greek, but that was it, almost entirely white. And while I certainly haven't done any political surveys, I would guarantee you almost entirely Republican. Okay. Maybe there's a token libertarian in there. And I'm not even counting myself in that because I'm libertarian-ish. But anyways, very homogenous church. And what do I see around me? I see a bunch of young, healthy white couples. And I mean just, men with decent T levels, that, the kind of being young and healthy that results in being beautiful, you know what I'm saying? Or handsome in the case of the men. Just well-adjusted, got their shit together. A lot of these young people, seemingly so. I mean, obviously, I'm taking things at a glance. You never know exactly what's going on behind the surface. But by and large, a whole lot of well-adjusted people. And what really struck me, after last night and a couple of comments right before I go to bed that I saw Richard Spencer dick riders and stuff like that. What really struck me is that these people who have no conscious interest in preserving the white race in 1488 are doing more to preserve the white race than most 1488ers. They're producing well-adjusted children in at least replacement number values, or quantities, I should say. They're being well-adjusted, healthy people themselves. And yet, at the same time, what do I hear from the pastor at one point? And it was a guest pastor, and he had a nice sermon. I'm not dismissing him, but he was teaching on the Good Samaritan story, and he made some line in there about there's one race, the human race, anti-racist line. And I mean, certainly, the Bible encourages us to reach across racial boundaries, but the Bible is not. The Bible doesn't deny those boundaries exist in the first place. And it's a dumb thing to say. There's no difference between, aside from skin pigmentation or something like that. Look, yeah, we're all human beings, but a Cocker Spaniel and a Rottweiler are both dogs. It doesn't mean they're the same. But at the same time, what do I see around me? And he's probably the same way. I see a bunch of white people who marry a bunch of white people and produce a bunch of white babies, merely because they're healthy, adjusted people that follow their natural instincts. Somebody in the chat says, I'll eventually warm up to Spencer. No, I don't believe I will. If I want to listen to a, attention-seeking sodomite on the right, I'll listen to Milo because he at least makes me laugh. Spencer's a piece of shit, okay? He's a piece of shit. He's never worked a day in his life. He's a poor character. Probably sucks dick. But anyways, now look, you can easily point to some of the cucky shit in evangelical culture, and there's quite a little bit of it. But it's mostly at the surface, or I shouldn't say the surface, the top, the national stage of it, as it were, the self-proclaimed leaders. That's where you see all the cucky shit. And yeah, down at the grassroots, they'll repeat shit like that because maybe it sounds good. But that's not how they live their lives. What I see is a bunch of God-fearing K-types in there. What I see is a functional community in society. And I say all that to say this. If the alt-right has any interest in pursuing its goals, in really getting done what it needs to do, first of all, it really needs to pull its head out of its ass on economic issues. Economics matter. Okay. The very working class whites you want to save are going to vote for the guy who's going to make sure they still have a job, whether, real or perceived, whatever, who's going to lower their taxes, who's going to give them economic benefits. Or not, I shouldn't say give them economic benefits, give them economic opportunity is what I meant to say. No, they're not. They don't like socialized medicine. They don't like the gimme debts. It's the exact kind of people you don't want to flourish, Mr. Alt-Righter, that likes the gimme debts. But if the alt-right intends to do anything that it's proclaiming it wishes to do, it's simply put, it's going to have to get right with God. if you want the white race to flourish, then it has to be worthy of doing so. And what I saw this morning as I looked around is I saw a bunch of people worthy of doing so, and their lineages would flourish. Um, you know, you don't necessarily see that on some of these other, the buttstuff.biz or whatever. You know, that's not where it's at. And also, what struck me is these are not people that are overly obsessed with fucking politics. There comes a point when, like, politics is a sphere of life, but that's all it is. And yes, it's a very important one. And if you don't take an interest in politics, politics just might take an interest in you, certainly. But don't be fucking obsessed with it all the damn time. Well, yeah, I saw a bunch of God-fearing K types all around me. It's interesting. I've said this before. In much the same way, the cruelest joke, the funniest joke, the whatever, the cruelest, funniest joke that nature and her God ever did is that evolution obsessed atheists are almost always evolutionary dead ends. You think that people that take seriously, that think Bill Nye is the patron saint of their pseudo, their scientism religion or whatever the hell they want, whatever the hell it is, you think they go and breed in any great numbers? Yes. Interestingly enough, the evolution obsessed atheist is an evolutionary dead end. And in the same way, the absolutely race obsessed 1488ers, not all of them, certainly, but a big chunk of them are doing nothing to preserve their race. Yeah, the shit posted online, it certainly has its place. It certainly can accomplish a good deal. But it doesn't make babies, does it? So yeah, I just thought that was interesting this morning. It was refreshing too. Give you a bit of hope. And not merely for white people, because, well, yeah, I'd prefer if white people continue to prosper because we've done some pretty bitchin' things for the world and will likely continue to do so if given the chance. But more to the point, I just want civilized people to prosper. And there's quite a few white people that don't meet that standard. Someone says, look at who the Pope of Catholicism is before you throw stones. I don't lump me in with the Catholics. Honestly, I mean, I love a lot of my Catholic friends, and I have some deep respect for some Catholic thinkers, but by and large, Catholicism it's Christianity for those who aren't totally willing to give up paganism. Let's see. Bechtloff, that Russian guy that's so infamous, makes the same case. There is no conservatism, no traditionalism without a God that can stand against time and progress in the liberal use. Yeah, I'm a big fan of progress in the truest sense of the word. I like technological progress. I like a civilization that reaches towards greater prosperity and freedom and greatness. Let's make great skyscrapers and let's put a man on the moon and let's cure diseases and all that kind of stuff. That's not the progress liberals want, you know? Let's see. But yeah, it was interesting to see that, you know. Somebody a Facebook group I'm in just today, they were saying like, you know, and this is why I can't get on board with a lot of the 1480ish. It's like, you know, would you rather have a fucking white liberal arts degree chick, you know, as a wife, or you know, who thinks Anita Sarkeesian makes a lot of good points, or would you rather have a traditionalist, you know, red pilled semi at least, or you know, that term's a bit overused, but just traditionalist, God fearing black or Hispanic or Asian wife? And you know, I'm just like, I'll take the minority any day on that. I mean, you know, I generally don't find black and Hispanic and Asian women that attractive, but assuming it's one I do find attractive, because you know, if the chemistry's not there, it's never going to be there. But yeah, I'd take that over any day. You know, because like I said, race matters. It certainly matters. It matters a great deal, but it's not all that matters. Let's see. Somebody says, yeah, that's the proper progress. Yeah, exactly. The real accomplishments based version. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, you know, I want us to be forever reaching towards that, you know, shiny space age sci fi, you know, Jetsons world. No, we're never going to, you know, we're never going to truly have a utopia or anything like that, but we should be trying to better things. You know, we should be not afraid to look at how things are done and say, is there a better way? Now, that doesn't mean you just ignore ancient wisdom. See, I mean, you know, there's a lot of people on the alt right, the NRX, what especially, where you know you're too tethered to tradition for it. Like, an ideal society, a healthy, functional, great civilization is forever reaching towards the future. Now, yes, it's, you know, it never forgets the past, and that is a guide for it always, but it's not chained to it necessarily. Somebody says, I doubt God will give us the cosmos until the sodomite plague is ended. Well, again, look, I mean, there was a Twitter account I saw the other day, and I don't even know if it's a fucking troll or not. Who the fuck can tell anymore? You know, but because it did use the word implicit, so maybe it was being a fucking joke about it, but I can't tell. But it was like, yes, gay white nationalists do exist. You know, we want to. Why, if you have any sense of tradition, any sense of wanting, you know, your race to prosper, if you're gay, wouldn't you just like not fucking talk about that? Like, why promote a lifestyle that is counter to your goal of wanting white people to prosper? Like, you can't just keep that shit on the DL. And no, apparently they can't. Apparently they fucking can't ever. You know, the old saying of what I do in my bedroom should be my business. I don't want the government being a bedroom place. Sure, you know what? I don't particularly want that either. I don't want the government going door to door checking people's assholes for cum. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I don't want to police what the fuck goes on in your bedroom. I don't want to know what the fuck goes on in your bedroom, period. I don't want to know. But when you're fucking parading that shit down Main Street, it makes it my problem. What I do in the privacy of my bedroom is my right. Sure. By all means. That's between you and God. Until you fucking want to put that on a parade float. And the problem is you seem to always want to do that. Oh, Lordy. All right. Looks like somebody messaged me here. Does anybody else want to call in? I'll send a link to one person. I'll take a caller here. If somebody else wants to hop in, feel free. Go ahead and message me on the Skypes if you want to call in. Part of why I think Christianity can't accept race realism is because they just won't accept that man is an animal. I mean, no, man is not just an animal, but man is an animal. You know, even if you take a literal interpretation of Genesis, which I don't, he made Adam from the same dust he made the beast. And even a literal interpretation of Genesis believes in evolution within a kind. You know, obviously Adam and Eve produced all the races we have before us, if you believe that. So, you know, obviously you're going to get evolution within a kind. And I mean, I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, you know, you have a bunch of people up in Europe who had to deal with harsh winters, which means they had to develop things like agriculture.
Hey, Bechtloff, can you hear me?
Hey,
oh,
yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. My bad.
That's all right. They had developed things like agriculture. They had to develop more advanced forms of shelter. They had to figure out how to warm themselves during the winter. They had to deal with the harsh winters, which means they had to be a little bit more clever than people developing in sub-Saharan Africa, where the food is falling out of the trees and scurrying between their legs. You know, I mean, yeah, they had to, you know, figure out some spears. You know, they got to figure out some basic shelter from the sun and the rain. But by and large, they lived with abundance, and they never had to develop any kind of advanced civilization to deal with their surroundings.
Yeah, and I missed it because I was muting you. You're talking about Africans, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I was just mentioning, okay. You know, I mean, one of the reasons I don't think Christians seem to be able to accept any kind of race realism is because they just can't seem to grasp the fact that, well, yes, man is not just an animal. Man is an animal, and we're bound by certain...
Well, this is the thing is that, you know, you can argue this in a biblical sense, because remember, like, the sons of Noah had 3 sons after the flood: Japheth, Shem, and Ham. And the Africans are sons of Ham, the youngest. So they're last in everything.
Well, even within a strict creationist viewpoint, you have evolution within a kind, as they call it.
No. I'm not talking about creationism specifically. I'm just like you can take it metaphorically or literally, depending on where. I'm coming from this from an evolutionary perspective. Because remember, there was the I can't remember what the event was called, but during the Ice Age, there was an extinction event where we were literally dropped down to 10,000 people. That's what I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, literal or metaphorical, even within a literal interpretation of it, you have evolution within the human species.
Yes, I agree.
Humans evolving into other types of humans. So it shouldn't be hard to accept that different types of human beings are different. I mean,
yep.
You know, a Cocker Spaniel and a Rottweiler are both dogs, but they're not the same thing.
Yeah, this is what I've always kind of wondered between like, I guess Pastor Tom, you and Luke, is this that like, because for me, like, I do believe that there's a lot of truth in race realism, but as far as like as far as race mixing and all that, like I know that you don't. I mean, that's the thing is that you say you don't care, but it kind of sounds like you care at the same time. Like,
well, here's the thing. Here's my thing on race mixing. Look, race mixing on a big, wide scale. I mean, it's a soft form of genocide. There's no getting around that. You know, if every white woman breeds with non-white people, well, then white people as we know them today will cease to be.
well, what
And
is
that's true.
I mean, we're doing well. I mean, plenty of white men are doing the exact opposite. They're going to Asia and cucking the men there, and they're doing the same thing in Africa. Like, and this
Well,
is the whole thing with like
I
Ruth
don't think
thing.
it happens on as wide of a scale as
Not
people.
not yet, but but I'll tell
I
you.
don't think it's a particularly good thing if it happens on a wide scale. What it is I'm not an absolutist about it. I'm not willing to say it is bad, it's always bad, never do it.
Which
That's
I don't know.
what it is with me.
Maybe this is kind of bad of me, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't really care about. I don't care if the white race survives the next 10 years. The way they're acting, they're all. I mean, again, like not you guys. You're great guys, which is why I follow you. But just the average white man or woman I meet on the street, I just can't even respect them. They're like limp-wristed, mealy-mouthed, and weak and cowardly. And I really don't care if they live or die. Like they're
I
not
do
Charles
care.
Martel.
I would much prefer that white people continue to exist on into the ages. But the thing is, I'm going to be dead in like what, fucking 6-7 decades tops. All right. So I mean, directly it doesn't affect me one way or another. You know what happens after the day I die on this mortal plane is not my problem.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this,
Bechtloff. At the end of the day, I mean,
okay.
You got to focus on what's in front of you. You know what I mean? Be the best person you can.
I'll tell you
Improve
this.
yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, no. I'm doing that, which is what I'm telling you. Like my basic feelings on this is that the West has until I turn 30, which is about 6.5 years from now, and then I'm done. I'm going to Asia. I'm going to greener pastures, and they can rot in hell for all I care. Because I don't give a shit about white people now. I care about my ancestors. I care about the people who built the civilization I have, and they've thrown away their inheritance, and they're laughing about it, and they're unrepentant, and I hate them for it.
And you know, some form of judgment will come one way or another. That's just how things.
It's already here.
But yeah, like. I mean, I don't even know if I'll have kids because I'm in my mid-30s now. So who the hell knows?
Well,
but,
I honestly,
if I have a grandson 100 years from now, you know, or whatever, I would probably generally prefer he be white. But you know what? More than that, I would prefer he be a man a godly man of solid character. And I would much rather have a grandson that looks nothing like me, but maybe carries on my last name and is a godly man, than a grandson that carries on my last name and is, you know, sticking bananas up his ass, but looks just like me.
I know, because that brings shame to you. Either honestly, I think that's. I mean, that's just kind of how I feel about it. I mean, it's just like that's the thing is the most God-fearing people, like the majority of them, like outside of my immediate family that I've met in my life, were non-whites. Like I'm like it's basically like, you know, like I relate to CF a lot and what he says, because I grew up in a very diverse area myself, and white people, at least in my area, they've always been the least God-fearing, and even if they do pretend to be God-fearing, they don't listen. They just
but again, my point earlier I was making is, so I'm surrounded this morning by a bunch of God-fearing white people, right?
Yes.
And basically, or none of them really. Again, there was the one that was the one couple were sort of questionable in their heritage. I couldn't really tell. But none of them are race mixing. And it's not because they set out to say race mixing is bad and I'm not going to do it. It's because they're healthy, well-adjusted people, and people normally have a certain tribal instinct in them where, generally speaking, white people are attracted to white people.
Yes. It's like I said, like if I had my first choice, it would be a white woman, but
it's not going to happen that much. And my biggest thing with it, and where I can't get on board with the 1488ers, is I'm never willing to say it is inherently bad and should never happen.
Even though, you know what the weird thing I've noticed with some fortune areas, you know, a lot of them will admit that they're only half white. It's a very odd thing that I really don't understand with them.
Well, shit. I mean, the one. Oh no, I'm sorry. He was just married. I was going to say the one guy at the butt stuff jizz is, you know, he yeah. For a second, I was going to say he was Jewish, but I forgot. No, he was just married to a Jewish woman.
Yeah. I mean, like, this is the thing. To me, Jews, they're white people. They are. Like, again, I remember Davis Serini. He was talking to Matt one time, and he said that Jews are like the white people that white people aspire to be, and he was fucking right when he said it.
Jews are white when it's convenient.
No, but they are no, but I mean, they are Caucasoid. Like, when you look at their skull structure, it is our skull structure. They are white. Like, I guess or Caucasoid, or however you want to put it.
Well, again, you can get into sub ethnicities and shit like that. I mean, you know,
yeah,
historically a German and a Frenchman, you know, if somebody knows what they're looking for, could tell them apart at a glance.
Yeah.
And again, like, people in the United States are extremely genetically distinct from their sub-Saharan African cousins.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they bred in with both the natives and whites a little bit, and then there was that whole little controlled breeding program for a little while, and also just being in a different environment, you know, being in a temperate zone as opposed to more tropical for a couple hundred years will change things a bit.
Yeah, and you know what I find kind of ironic about, especially these like the conscious people and the We Was Kings people in America, is just like, no, you were enslaved to the kings of Africa and they sold you to us. That's what happened.
Yeah, and Egypt wasn't black.
Well, no, Egypt had black slaves, yeah.
But... Yeah, no, but the Egyptians, as we know them, the ancient Egyptians, as we know them as a race, they were not black. There's a reason I specifically call black sub-Saharan Africans, because that's what they are.
Yeah. And
Saharan Africans, I guess you would call them. That doesn't sound right, but I think that's what you'd call them.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I think there actually was one pharaoh, like when it was North Egypt and South Egypt, like one who was sub-Saharan African, but he married, you know, the Caucasian people, and so that gene got bred out pretty fast. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. But I'll tell you this, the art, like compared to the other Egyptian art, it's surprisingly bizarre. Like, not necessarily ugly, just bizarre. It's I don't know, do you know anything about the Hellenistic period in Greece?
A little bit, yeah.
Like, you know how it was all about realism and doing real proportions, and it wasn't idealized figures and stuff when it came to statues?
Mm-hmm.
Like this black pharaoh I'm thinking of, he did the same thing. Like his statue was like, he looked how he actually looked, and he was here's the thing, is that for a black guy, he had a very large forehead. It was like he was an odd looking dude.
So it was Yakub.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that's where Yakub, they got him
or whatever it is. The great scientist Yakub, or what? What the hell do they call it?
No, Yakub. You're right, and I'll tell you why I know, because I read Malcolm X's biography, and I remember just that whole, which is such a shame, like, because Malcolm X, it was a really smart guy. Like, if you read his autobiography, you can just tell he was so intelligent. But the thing was, he was uneducated, so he bought into all this crazy Nation of Islam bullshit, which he did figure it out in the end. But after he did figure it out, they killed him. So. But so this I'm curious, like, what's this church that you're talking about? Was it Baptist? Because I know, and you're still living in Pennsylvania, right?
It's basically just non-denominational evangelical, which is, I mean, essentially Baptist generally. I mean, but yeah, it's just denominational evangelical kind of thing. I mean, I bounced around a few.
Yeah. I know you have your issues,
churches, but you know, like, hell, there's a Baptist church that some relative of mine goes to that now has got a female pastor in it. So I was like, yeah, that's okay.
Oh
I think
gosh.
I'll just. I think I'd be better off sticking with Saint Mattress in the morning. It is a day of rest after all.
No kidding. But okay, so I know like I'm Catholic myself, and I know you have your problems with Catholicism. You ever thought of looking into Eastern Orthodox though? I mean, honestly, I mean they're great guys.
I have a deep respect for the Eastern Orthodox. I think they are just a bit too caught up in the
But you
rituals of
see,
it.
like I don't know what you guys mean by that because like the most like the the centerpiece of the whole sermon is communion, which is a ritual, and it's the
Yes,
centerpiece of the whole
and
sermon.
in fact, we just did communion um, at my church this morning. But it's not that ritual is bad by any stretch, and it's just I think you can get a little too caught up in it rather than in what it's supposed to be representing.
I mean, I guess this is the I'm this is the
And
kind of
I think that a lot of non-denominational I'm just going to call them evangelicals. I think a lot of evangelicals err on the opposite side of that.
But you see, my problem is that they're not on the opposite side of that. I think evangelicals are more pagan than Catholics and Eastern Orthodox combined, if you can even call us pagans. Evangelicals are the people that I hear about doing like those weird snake charming things and like casting out
I don't
demons
know
out
if
of
I'd
people,
call
all this theatrical
that
stuff.
snake I don't think I'd call the snake handlers evangelical.
Well, they call
Um,
themselves evangelicals. I can tell you that they do call
I
themselves.
guess. Um, but no, generally most of the evangelicals I've dealt with, it's kind of almost the opposite. They go for almost too much of breaking away from that kind of thing. I mean, as for
Yes, not
the
necessarily.
casting out demons, I don't. I mean, I'm not going to lump that in with ritual. That's either somebody is casting out a demon or they're a fucking fraud. Um, I mean, that's not so much a ritual as in theory that's something that needs done, or you're faking it.
But
Um,
that's the thing is that like that's what I'm telling you is that it's not supposed to be a ritual, but it clearly is because there's
well,
because it's
yes, I mean,
always like here's the time to
nobody can
set out
escape
the
getting
cast
into
demons out of you.
patterns. I mean, that's certainly true, and like I said, they can go in the opposite extreme. Um,
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I got a question. Actually, I've been meaning to ask you. Like, do you know who Pastor Steven Anderson is?
the name sounds familiar, but I'm having a hard time placing it.
Common Filth is really into the guy, but
I think
like
I
I
know who
have
you're
mixed
talking about.
feelings.
I
Like he
think
has
I've
a
seen some of his videos.
like I believe I can't remember if it was him or his Hispanic buddy in California, but like when that fag club got shot up by that Muzzy,
Mhm.
he like was just like, oh yeah, who cares if they die? I want to throw them all against the wall and blow all their brains out. But then but you see what set me off about it is that when they came to interview him, he's just like, oh yeah, I'm totally for non-violence, and I was then don't say that shit, pussy.
Yeah, like if it's the same guy I'm thinking of, I mean, I've seen some good videos by him. He certainly makes, there's certainly times I'm wholeheartedly on his side. I just
Yeah.
think it's a bit of an edgelord thing with him.
It really is, and you see, this is at least like again, not all, but this is my biggest problem with at least Protestants. I would say in the Midwest specifically is just that like, and again, like Pastor Tom, I really like Pastor Tom. I do watch his sermons like every time he posts them. He's great pastor, even though I Catholic, I love his sermons because he knows when to he chooses his words carefully. A lot of these
Oh yeah, you have
Protestant
to.
pastors don't. But like
Yeah,
Stephen Anderson, he
you
does not
really
choose his words carefully.
you got to take very seriously what you're saying behind the pulpit.
Exactly.
I'm sitting here on a live stream on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening. I'm not representing anybody but me, so yeah, I shoot from the hip. But if this was some sort of sermon I was attempting to do here, yes, the words would be chosen very carefully.
Yeah,
You
because
gotta
this
watch
is
what you say.
yeah, because just like with that shooting gays against the wall comment, like I know Pastor Tom would never be stupid enough to say that kind of crap because, but like again, like I think it's like you said, I think it's more of an edgelord thing. I don't even think it's about God at that point. I think he's just like getting out his own, whatever wherever his rage comes from with gays, which again,
And
there's a
again,
lot of legitimate ones.
It's so misdirected. Like, I'm not angry at fucking gays as a whole. I'm really not. I don't approve of it. I'm never going to approve of it. But, I'm hardly pure as the driven snow myself. And I've certainly got my demons myself. It's not that, but, were it not for the grace of God, who knows what kind of Hellraiser boxes I'd open. So I'm not mad at gays as a whole. When it's shoved in my fucking face, when you're telling me I have to fucking throw a parade for them and bake them a dildo cake, or you're going to put me in jail and that kind of shit, that's when I have a real problem. But when a bunch of gays are fucking going to a specifically gay bar and doing gay guy stuff in the bar section of town, of a city, I wish that was the biggest thing I had to worry about in this fucking world. Okay, I really do. What a world that would be, where that's even cracking the top 50 of things I need to fucking concern myself with. So yeah, I see some muzzy go in there and shoot him up. I'm like, well, yeah, that's one more reason it's clear the Muslims can't be allowed around here. They just fucking go crazy and shoot everybody up. Because, hell, I enjoy to have a beer once in a while. Is he going to shoot me? Actually, I don't like beer, but I like liquor. But that's beer kind of tastes like ass. But anyways, the point is, like, I found it a very interesting thing because it showed, that even though gays are the patron saint of fucking leftism, they were willing to throw them under the bus because leftists always side with that which is most destructive in that moment.
Well, not only that, fags are willing to throw themselves under the bus. They were like, no Muslim, they have no survival instinct. They're suicidal.
So many fags truly just lack the goddamn self-preservation instinct, don't they?
Yes,
if you think about it, faggots would never be liberal if they had any sense of self-preservation. Every faggot in the world would be a libertarian, because historically, big governments are pretty quick to line you up against the wall, but they don't have any kind of self-preservation instinct. It's evidenced by the fact that they're faggots.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is just that, especially out of I know the Soviet Union. I can't remember what they were called, but there was this brigade of fags that essentially they were the useful idiots on part of the Bolshevik Revolution, and then they immediately got sent to the gulags after the communists took control.
Yeah,
even the communists don't want to don't even want to deal with them
because they don't make useful cogs in the machine.
Nope. I mean, that's that's the most offensive thing to me is just that it's just the fact that the Shabos heteros think that every fag is like Dave Rubin, essentially. Which Dave Rubin probably isn't even the Dave Rubin we think he is, because he's way too clean cut. I don't even want to know what he does in his spare time, or any fag really. Oh yeah, by the way, do you watch him?
Dave Rubin? No, I can't say I do.
You should, because he is a fag, and he is a former Young Turks, but he is the best interviewer on YouTube. Promise.
I might have seen him before, but I've taken the position too that I think the church has done a poor job in trying to minister to gays, because you have either one of two extremes. Either they just only are able to interact with them on the plane of being a political enemy, or
or it's not a choice. It's not a choice.
Yeah, or it's like, okay, we're going to be okay with it.
Yes, and it was so great. I can't remember when CF said it, but he demolished that shit it's like, it doesn't matter if it has a genetic basis to it. Do you do it or do you not?
Yeah, see, I might have a
fucker, or are you not?
One guy might have a genetic basis to be more prone to a quick temper. It doesn't mean he's allowed to go punching motherfuckers in the face.
Yeah, what if I'm a
Having
And what if I'm a Ted Bundy type? What if I want to like go and like murder and rape women? Is it okay for me to do that just because I have a predilection to do it?
and I don't really buy. I don't know. It's probably. I wish more was put into understanding exactly why it happens.
Actually, have you ever heard of gay germ theory?
I have heard the toxoplasmosis, I think it's called,
I
is
can't
the
remember if that's the exact, but I think
I
you're
think
right.
that's the parasite that they think might cause it. There probably is some manner of genetic predisposition to it, but an entirely genetic argument falls flat on its face to me for the sheer fact that, I mean, that seems like the exact kind of genetic trait that would get weeded out.
Yeah, well, I don't know because the guy who originally wrote Game Germ Theory, because if I'm remembering correctly, he did because I read that paper a couple of years ago. I think he did acknowledge that gays are attracted to like younger children, and he made the argument it's because for the gay germ to spread, it goes to young. They have to give it to younger children because their immune systems are weaker, which makes a lot of sense and also explains why like at least I've always been disgusted by fags. I don't know about you. And he also brought up the point that it might be an evolutionary trait that we're disgusted by faggotry because we know that they're disease ridden, that they're dirty. Because
Well,
I mean they yeah.
just by the nature of it, they're going to be more disease ridden. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
no kidding.
and I know like the people, well, heterosexual couples sometimes do ass stuff too. But yeah, it's like, okay, so the heterosexual couple fucks his wife in the ass what on his birthday once in a while or something. It's not like they're doing that every day. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, the marriage is going a little stale, so we're gonna try something new. It's not like that's every other fucking day with them, okay?
Yeah, honestly, I honestly believe it's a porn myth. I have never again I've talked to plenty of guys my age about this, and you know we're probably more perverted than your generation overall because we grew up with porn. I haven't met a single guy who has admitted to fucking a girl in the ass. I think it's pure. I think it's pure porn propaganda, and because people see it in porn, they just assume that other people do it because my generation are a bunch of sick puppies.
Well, I'm not gonna say that I haven't done that with a woman,
That's
um,
fair enough. Like no judgment here.
but
I
you
get
know,
the
as I
culture we live
said,
in. Yeah.
I've not always been a Christian, and you know, I there was very little my high school sweetheart and I weren't willing to try.
Let me tell you this, dude. I used to about 4 years back. I was the flying spaghetti monster kind of atheist. So
I was
yeah,
never an atheist, even in my like. I went through kind of a God hating fedora phase in my teen years and my young adult years, I guess. Like up until about maybe 2021 when I started to really move. I guess it was about 18, 19 when I started to move in the direction of Christianity. But even in my most God hating fedora days, I was never an atheist. I was probably an agnostic slash deist. Pure atheism always sounded retarded to me because it just seemed like, okay, A, you can't really have anything but nihilism. And then B, I mean, you know, you kind of need a first cause.
well, yeah, well, that's the kind of thing. Is just that I guess I guess what happened to me is just that I saw death at a very young age. It was I'll just tell you, like, essentially, this guy had a car wreck, and I saw a car crush a guy's chest when I was like 8 years old. Probably had a bit of mild PTSD after that, and let's just say I couldn't really believe in God after that. Like, I pretended like I did for a very long time, but then when I went to college, I kind of just admitted to myself that I was an atheist at that point. Because you know, it's just that when you're a kid and you're processing that kind of, you can't really understand that you're just in a fallen world because you know when you're a kid everything seems like rainbow farts and everything smells of flowers and you have those rose colored glasses and you don't see that you're walking into the slaughterhouse essentially. And let me tell you, my baby boomer parents were not much assistance in helping me process any of that.
Well, I mean, baby boomers are the worst generation. There's no getting around that. I mean, that
Yeah.
It's funny too. Like as much as the millennials and the Gen Xers, and I'm sort of straddling the fence on that because I am a old millennial or a young Gen Xer, depending on exactly where you draw the line. Um, but whenever I see like a baby boomer going after the millennials about what a fucked up generation they are, I'm like, no, 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 you don't get to say shit.
See, that's
Okay.
the see, that's the
Because
thing. It's just
look, we got our problems and all, but you don't get. It's like that one political cartoon where the baby boomers all like, "Why can't your generation move out of the basement?" It's like because your generation grenaded the economy and we can't find jobs.
oh
You
yeah,
know,
I'm in that situation right now, getting out of it and join the Marine Corps soon to completely get out of it. But I mean, see, that's just the thing with the baby. Like, I just can't believe. Like, you see, here's the thing: is that I know this is gonna. Like, I know this is like just take feminism out of this for a second. Pretend that doesn't exist. My dad is one of the most selfish people I've ever met in my life, but my mother is actually a godsend. They got divorced when I was 3 years old, and let me just tell you this: she's the top 1% out of single mothers. I never had any of the issues that other kids had with single. Like I did have the single mother problems, some of them to this day. But I'll say this: most of my virtues I've gotten from my mother. All my vices I've gotten from my father, because he's just a selfish prick,
it's funny.
and he never grew up.
It was basically the inverse with me. I had a tremendous father, and my mother is well, she's passed away now, so no
Oh,
sense digging up the past there.
yeah,
But to put it coldly, I don't miss her. Um, but
fair
yeah, it
enough.
was when I say single moms, I always use the caveat that if a woman was married and her husband died or left her, that's not who I'm talking about. The
Yeah,
type
like
of single mom that boils my blood is the oops, I got accidentally pregnant.
yeah, I know. It's
Like
just that
holy fucking shit.
yeah, it's just sometimes I feel like I just have to preface it so it doesn't seem like I'm white knighting because it and you know and I because I am technically white knighting, but for somebody who's worth white knighting for, if that doesn't sound too wanky.
No, I get you.
Oh yeah, and your dad's a great dude. Like one of my favorite videos I ever saw you do was when you were talking to your dad. He was telling that story about how he almost died, and it was Antarctica, right?
Yes, he was in Antarctica. He saw
That
the
was such
edge.
a cool story.
uh, but yeah, he was stationed in Antarctica for a while. He's got a few more stories and all. I remember
Do you think he'll make that an annual thing for Father's Day? That would be so cool if
I'm
you did
probably
that.
gonna let
Like
him
you
come
just tell him
back.
one
I'm
of
also
his.
planning on having him sit down with me, and I'm gonna do another one of those "What do you know about" videos where I'm gonna explain bronies to him.
Oh no, don't!
I'm just gonna be like,
He's too old for that shit.
you
Don't.
know, because and see how there's actually a cartoon on right now that he actually really likes, and he watches it whenever he gets a chance to watch it. Is We Bear Bears?
We
Like,
Bear Bears?
yeah,
I don't think I've heard of that.
it's something on Cartoon Network where it's like a brown bear, a panda bear, and a polar bear all like just live as like roommates, and they just do like mundane day to day shit. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
he gets a kick out of it. It makes him laugh. And I'm
Yeah.
be like, how you like We Bear Bears, even though it's not, you're obviously not the target audience for it. Well, you also know how you don't jerk off to We Bear Bears. Therein lies the difference.
Even though I will say this, okay, like at least with millennials, like again, because I do relate to them in this sense, even though I've never really had this problem myself, but I do understand where they're coming from. It's just that you gotta understand a lot of this waifu stuff and a lot of this like My Little Pony stuff. It's because they're just desperate for some girl just to be pleasant to them.
Oh yeah,
And
that's what it
unfortunately,
is
the only
with
way they can find it is in cartoons.
yeah with they gravitate towards My Little Pony because they're just desperate for some fucking you know sense of of feminine virtue almost. They're
Yeah,
just,
and I'm not gonna lie, if I was in the age bracket for that, and I saw like it's a like I'll say this, I've seen a couple episodes before, like just out of curiosity, just because like kind of morbid curiosity, because all the autists are making porn out of it and stuff. So I was just like, what the fuck is this show? But I'll say it's a pretty good show. Like I would show it to my kids. Like there's nothing bad about the show. There's nothing really degenerate that I saw in it.
no, the show's not bad at all. I out of curiosity, I watched an episode of it too, and I'm like, well, this isn't really for me. But I actually have a buddy who likes it a lot.
Yeah,
And I
I
mean,
would
he's
say for a
not by
kid
any
show,
stretch a brony. He doesn't have like fucking stuff My Little Pony toys all over his room. He's not jerking off to it, but he just watches it when he gets a chance and it makes him laugh. And I don't fault anybody for that.
yeah,
But
and
that's a little bit different than what we're talking about when we're pointing out bronies.
yeah, and I'll say this there's like I'm an anime guy myself. Like that's my big thing because there's just so much less pause in anime. Like before, I was a big Cartoon Network kid, but everything on Cartoon Network is shit now. And also, anime is kind of more focused on an adult audience now compared to how it was. It seemed like in the '90s and '80s. But like I'll say this, I don't have a waifu or any of that gay shit. But I just kind of think of like the girls that I quote unquote like in shows I watch as kind of more of archetypes. Like, what qualities do I like about this person that if it was a real woman, why would I want her? That's kind of how I see it. Like more of a rubric, if anything else, if you catch my drift.
Well, Jordan Owen did a video on My Little Pony a few years ago. And he mentioned like how do you put it? He goes, I'm not attracted to these actual individual horse characters, but I do find attractive the type of women they represent.
Yes, exactly. That's a good way. That's a good way to put it. Like I'll tell you this: there's this show that I'm watching right now. It's I believe the English translation is hell. I'll just tell. I only know the Japanese. It's only in Japanese. It's Boku no Hero Academia. It's kind of like a high school for superheroes, and it's pretty cool actually. You might actually enjoy it because it's like I don't know. In some ways, it's not really a kid show. It would never be on Cartoon Network. I'll just say that it's too bloody. But there's this one girl on there. She's like it's kind of one of those things. With this is what I hate about animes though. It's just that there's like the love interest character, but they never ever get together. And she's one on there, and she's so not. And here's the thing: you never see her father's face, but there's this one scene where okay, so her power is I believe it's called zero gravity. Anything she touches, it becomes weightless, and she can make it float. And so what she wanted to do, like she wanted to be a superhero, but she told her parents is that no, I want to work for your construction company because their construction company was losing business because the economy was bad. And then the dad was just like no 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 no, we'll handle the adult stuff. You follow your dreams. And I was just like, man, like isn't that just a great dad?
Yeah,
And
that
again,
does
that's such
sound
a great
interesting.
daughter too. Like she's a sweetheart.
Yeah, I might check that out.
Yeah, like you would like you see, and but you see, this is the thing with the animes because they have like these like weird word salad Japanese names. I forget their names. I believe her name's Okawa. I believe is it pronounced, but she's the main. She's the first girl that the main character talks to, so you'll know who she is if you watch it. I think she's like in the first or second episode. I can't remember, but it's a pretty. You would probably like it since you're a big Marvel guy, and I know that you're probably starving for Marvel content
Oh
right
yeah,
now since
I
they're not
miss
doing
Marvel
too hot.
comics. I
Well,
miss Marvel comics.
yeah, well, I'll tell you
They
this.
were good. They should make those again.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. well, I'll tell you this, dude. There's this guy, Raging Golden Eagle. I watch. Like he is I'm not a MGTOW, but he is actually a MGTOW guy that I like. It's very clear that he has friends and that he's not a complete neat. And like again, like you know what he says at the beginning of every episode, every video he does.
What's that?
Raging Golden Eagle here, having way too much fun as always.
Well, see, that's
Great
what.
guy.
See, I had a real respect for the MGTOW shit when I first discovered it a few years ago, and I never,
Yeah, I would call
I,
him
I
a
never,
classic MGTOW.
I
He would be
never
a
kind of
classic
put my
MGTOW.
foot. I
Yeah.
never put more than one foot in that camp because that's just sort of my way. I almost never have more than one foot in a camp. But I really had a. I mean, you know, the sponsor of this podcast is Reconnaissance Man by Aaron Clary, and Clary's a perfect example of your classic MGTOW. Hang on, I'm sorry, I got a sneeze coming on. So,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
and now of course it's gone. But Clary's a perfect example of, and Reconnaissance Man, great book. Check it out down there. If you enjoy the show, check out the sponsor. Good book there on how to handle a fork in the road in life, that sort of thing.
Yeah, actually, I've read that book myself. I can second that opinion.
Yeah, so that's my half-assed advertisement for today. But yeah, do check out that book. Anyway, but Aaron's a perfect example of a classic MGTOW. I mean, Aaron is, as much as he got, in hot water with the MGTOWs because he dared to suggest that maybe you should, get your dick wet once in a while or something. He lives the MGTOW lifestyle. I mean, the motherfucker lives on his motorcycle, just traveling around most of the time. He has a steady girlfriend who, for whatever reason, just is fine with him disappearing for months on end.
No kidding.
But yeah.
You know what? Well, you know what my guess is why is that she has a regular job.
Yes, she does actually have a regular job.
That would be my suspicion.
That's why Aaron just wanders in and out of. But he is the perfect example of classic MGTOW. And the people who want to make MGTOW a religion fucking hate him.
Oh my gosh! Especially like who ruined MGTOW, I think, is that Barbarossa faggot. If you've heard of him.
That's a perfect example.
He is such a fucking faggot. Oh my god.
And look, MGTOW was also more pertinent back in the dark days of 2013. When, I know that seems like a lifetime ago, but back when it just seemed like there was nothing, when everything about the modern civilization was truly the most sucker of sucker pets. Things are a little bit brighter now, but you do still have to try and have some manner of independence, and you should. I mean,
yeah, there's really only 4 MGTOW channels I watch, I would say, on the regular, and that'd be Turd Flinging Monkey, Raging Golden Eagle, Aaron Clary, and Bernard Chapin, the man.
Yeah, I mean, look, when are you
gonna have Bernard on here, by the way, dude?
See, the thing about having Bernard on, and I've talked to Bernard. I like Bernard. He was actually on the election night stream too.
He was?
That was the one time I've had Bernard on the channel. Was my big 8-hour election night stream. The problem with having Bernard on the channel.
But by the way, best stream. I was on there for at least 4 hours and I had some fun. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it was a great night. I was very proud of how that night turned out.
This is a suggestion for you. Maybe if you don't have any plans, think of doing a 4th of July stream, or maybe a pre-4th of July stream. That would be fun.
Well, I mean, I certainly have more time on my hands now. Planning months ahead, though, is something I'm trying not to do because, hopefully soon I will have another full-time job, and who knows what the hell that schedule will be. I mean, for all I know, the Saturday show could end up moved to another night. If I get a security job or something, or another warehouse job in this area, I might end up working weekends and have weekdays off or something. You never know.
Yeah, maybe just something to keep in the memory banks is all I'm saying. But God
anyways,
willing,
the problem with having Bernard on is Bernard is very much an early to bed, early to rise kind of guy.
Oh yeah. And
I mean, having him on at 8 is having him on at the absolute end of his day. So just when I tend to stream means I don't tend to get Bernard on. It'd probably be more likely that I end up on one of his streams or something in the foreseeable future. But I mean, Bernard's always welcome on here. Basically any Saturday night, if he's up, he could just, message me and say, I want to hop in, and he could. I mean, Bernard's always welcome on here by all means, but the nature of his schedule means he's not likely to come on here that often.
Yeah, even though Did you hear about Bernard and did you hear about Chapin and Clary though?
Yeah,
I
they're
couldn't
fighting.
believe.
I don't want to get in the middle of that. They're
Yeah, honestly, like if I had to guess, I bet part of the reason is that I bet Clary's a bit butthurt that he didn't like one of his books. But again, I'll just leave it at that.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on between the two of them. I just
Yeah,
hard to
and I
say.
think and again, I feel like with I think with their personalities, I think Aaron Clary is a like unstoppable force, and Bernard Chapin is a
Immovable
immovable
object.
object. So I think this is going to happen eventually with the two of them, because Bernard Chapin's like a Boy Scout compared to the rest of us, and great guy. Like, and honestly, if I had to guess, I would say that his favorite book next to the Bible is probably Benjamin Franklin's biography, because I swear to God he lives every word in that book. Which, have
Yeah,
you
but
read that?
I've not read Franklin's biography.
Oh man, you should. I am, like, to be honest, reading when I read Benjamin Franklin, that's like a life changing book, because it makes me like, I don't care if like people died of cholera and polio and all those diseases. I want to live back in those days. Like, get this, he was a candle maker, like a poor fucker, but him and his buddies, like all the intelligent guys in his town, got together and they made a personal library together where they would just exchange books here and out. They would do debates for fun. Like, I don't know, it's just so hard to imagine poor people being this intellectually curious.
Well, I mean, part of that's because we live in much more of a time of opportunity than we ever did. I mean, there's there's problems and there's pitfalls in the way, but we have much more opportunity to better yourself than ever before.
I know, that's
So
what I'm
I
kind
mean,
of
there's
wondering, is that
not
there's
a
all
tremendous
this.
amount that keeps you very, very poor.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, that's why I've always kind of wondered, though, does prosperity kind of lead to this, like, not necessarily anti-intellectualism, but kind of, I don't know, apathy towards any kind of intellectual thought? That's just what I see from most people, just apathy.
Yes, it leads to just a general apathy. I mean, that's undeniable. You see the cycle of hard times create strong men, which create good times, which create weak men. The biggest challenge of civilization is trying to get that pendulum, that natural ebb and flow, from being too much of a pendulum swing to rip apart civilization. I mean, there's always times to sow, times to reap. There's always going to be you know ups and downs. There's going to be bears and bulls. There's going to be times of prosperity followed by maybe times of not so much prosperity. And as long as a pendulum doesn't swing too far, I mean, civilization's fine for a long time handling that. But yeah, there's always going to be that kind of cycle.
Yeah, it was the
It's
best.
it's
It was.
extremely hard to build character into a child when he grows up in opulence, which is the one thing you have to give Trump, is that he has several children who grew up both in opulence and in divorce situations who also have their shit together. I mean, the worst you can point out is that with Tiffany, there's a little bit of partying in her past, and with Ivanka, she rambles on about a bunch of pause liberal
You
bullshit.
see, like,
But
whatever
by
you.
and large, they all have their shit together in
Yeah,
a way
but
that a
I
lot
mean,
of people that grew up in that way
yeah,
would not.
yeah, but at least with Tiffany, at least she's a sweetheart, if nothing else. Like, at least she
Oh
strikes me
yeah,
as.
that's what I mean. The worst you could say is, Tiffany's had a little too much fun in her day, and Ivanka buys into a little too much bullshit. But that's it. That's the worst you could say about these people. A lot of people raising kids in that kind of circumstances, half of them may be dead from cocaine use.
Yeah, but I I don't know. Like, that's just the thing about Trump, is this that I really want to believe that I really want to agree with you guys on him. I just can't, though. I just can't trust him, especially like because CF did a show where he talked about his mentor Ray Cohn and how he essentially went to this big gay orgy birthday party, and I just don't know. After learning about that shit, I'm starting
Well,
to
okay,
think
so
that
like,
maybe
yeah, but that's the thing. None of that is actually tied to Trump. You could say,
no,
okay,
no,
so
no, no, no.
he
Well, what do you
wandered
mean it's
into
not
some
tied to Trump?
party he
He
should
was
have been.
there. He was
Yeah, he
there.
wandered
He
into
walked.
some party he shouldn't have. I'm sure he's wandered into a bunch of questionable parties. But the guy, by and large, seems to have pretty clean living. I mean, look, I don't know if Trump's going to cock on a lot of these sort of issues. I don't know. I mean, I happen to think that a lot of what's going on now is that he's laying low because, you know, half the government just openly fantasized about killing him when he was in office. I mean, and
Yeah.
in my opinion, he would not be the first president the intelligence community has killed in modern times. Um, so
I'm just saying. I hope. Like I lost. Like my emotional investment ended in him when he won the election, and I just hope yours did too,
it is what it
because
is.
it
I
should.
mean, you know,
Just don't. Just
the
don't.
Syria
Just,
thing got to me because it looked like he was making a mistake I never imagined he would make, and that was repeating Bush's mistake. I don't think
well,
that's
yeah,
where
because
he was ending up going, but it caught me by surprise more than it disillusioned me. I was just like, no, there's plenty of fuck ups I envisioned him doing. That wasn't one of them, but it also turned out he really wasn't going down that path,
yeah.
at
Well, I
least
hate
so
to.
far.
Yeah, well, I hate to say it again, but it didn't surprise me because again, CF was right. He's a neocon. He's just a neocon with common sense. That's all he is.
Well, that's still a step up. But I don't necessarily know that he is. I think, and it's not the 4D chess bullshit. It's just I think, like, look, if I was Trump and I was in his position and I wanted to do the things he wants to do, the simple fact of the matter is, before you can begin to do those, you have to make sure you have put in men you can trust into various positions. So whether he's going to do it or not, I knew that he wasn't going to do it now. You
So
know what I
you
mean?
think? So you think he's essentially like basically playing the neocon game from now to get leverage later,
I
or at least you hope that's what he's doing.
I think that's what he's doing, but I also will admit that yes, I hope that's what he's doing. But it's 50-50. That could very easily be what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
like if you want to look, if you wanted to just, if you wanted to start prosecuting some of the former people in the government, like he said he was going to do, he's got to right now pretend like he doesn't want to do it because the Justice Department is still mostly Obama guys. And again, there are deep state people that would happily just assassinate him if they could. I don't know if he's going to fulfill his promises. What I do know is there was no way in hell he was going to be doing it already.
No. Yeah.
I mean,
But here's
you
the.
have to put people in position. You have to have a whole lot of people in position before you can strike. Is he going to? I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just I'm just wondering if his main motivation is just essentially just be in the book, like just be billionaire playboy president. That's kind of what I think his main motivation is. It's for his ego.
Well,
Is
look,
my main
if it
guess.
is ego, then that tells me he really has to accomplish what he promised. Because I mean, he doesn't want to be a shitty president.
No, agreed. He does
He wants
not
to
want to
be
be a
like
shitty president.
he may be attempting to do all these grandiose things that he says he was going to do out of pure fucking ego. Okay? But you know what? That's the kind of thing where that's for the good Lord to judge him. Okay? I really can't imagine he would want to just get in there and then just do a shitty job.
I
Not
like.
do the things
Well,
he
yeah, I
said.
agree.
Because
Yeah, like
that doesn't feed his ego. That doesn't build a legacy. Okay? If he truly is just so conceited that he's like, the last thing I want to do is become such an awesome president, they put my fucking face right on Mount Rushmore. Well, you're not going to do that by half-assing it.
Yeah, like I remember there was, again, I didn't really talk to my friends or anybody about the election because, a good portion of them are liberals. But I remember just one time they just really set me off. They're talking like, oh my gosh, can you imagine if Trump like got the nuclear button? And I was like, motherfucker, the other person, your Democratic goddess, has already threatened to start war with Russia.
Yeah, somebody who's threatening to start war with Russia, who I might add is apparently a Satanist. I don't want her having.
Oh well, these people don't care. They're atheists. All liberals are atheists. I don't care what they say. It's just a cloth they wear, as far as I'm concerned. They don't.
But,
you can't be liberal and Christian. You can't, in my opinion. Like, that is an opinion, but
not this modern kind of leftism.
No.
Because this isn't. Oh, I just want to make sure we take care of the little guy. This isn't classical liberalism. This isn't any of that kind of shit. Modern leftism is nothing more than a relentless march directly into Cthulhu's Maw.
That's the worst. And honestly, you know what my biggest fear is, as far as Christianity goes, is at least in the West. The East is fine. As far as Christians go, the East is fine. But in the West, I'm worried that the only Bible we might have in the next 100 years that the West lasts will be that Queen James Bible. I know that's what the Sodomites want.
The Queen.
They want that fucking Queen James Bible. You never heard of the Queen James Bible? It's essentially the Sodomite friendly Bible. Like, you know how Jefferson cut out all the miracles and all the supernatural stuff out of the Bible, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is the Bible you should live by." This is the Sodomites' Bible, essentially. So Satan's Bible, Satanic Bible.
I don't see that happening. I mean, look, here's what's going to happen to the West. The West is either going to have a revival, and it's going to be Christian, or it's going to fall to the sword of Islam. Those are the only two options. There is no liberal fucking paused utopia that they imagine they're going to have. That shit is just about done. Okay?
Yeah,
here's the stone cold reality. All you fucking feminists out there, all you SJWs and all that shit, especially you fucking feminists, understand something. Okay? It's the patriarchy or it's the burqa. All right? That's what it is. All right? Those are your options. You can have the Bible or the burqa are the two possible futures of the West. There is no paused liberal utopia. Because again, Orlando points this out perfectly. They're not even willing to fight for their paused liberal utopia. You know what I'm saying? They're not willing to even fight the Muslims for their right to shove their fists up each other's assholes.
What do liberal faggots fight for? Like, when do liberal faggots fight for anything?
They only fight against
if you want to fight for anything, you're either a murderer, a terrorist, or evil. As far as
fight against Christians, Christians are generally too good-natured to really fight back in a vicious way. But yeah, that's it. There is no paused liberal utopia here. So, trust me, there may not be a Bible in the Western future, but there certainly isn't the Queen James Bible. I can assure you that. That nonsense is going into fire one way or another.
Well, I mean, I would agree with you, except for that we have drones. I mean, again, this is the thing with the military, is that we don't even need men in the military anymore. We can just have fags.
It doesn't matter if nobody's willing to fight them. I mean, we can have an extensively whatever military, but if this or that neighborhood just falls under Sharia law, I mean, for fuck's sake, half of Michigan is damn near occupied territory at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but you see, that's the thing is that at least as far as the globalists go, Islam's not a threat to them because Islam is a slave religion. It's a religion for slaves. That's why they want Europe to be Islamic. Because Muslims.
I happen to think it will be a revival. I happen to think it will be a revival, at least in the United States. Now maybe sections of the United States break off and become, maybe Michigan stand or something.
Yeah, and I think you might need to unplug your mic or something. You're kind of getting a little staticky right now.
Of course I am. Hang on 1 second.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back.
All right, much better, yes. Yeah, but again, this is. But here's the thing: is just that I think the same. You know what? I think I hate the people who vote Republican more. And you know why? Because they won't fight. Because they won't fight for anything either. They just talk shit. That's all they'll do. Is they're all fucking talk. Let me tell you, I was so happy when that Battle of Berkeley stuff went down. You saw all those guys like badass, clad, ready to crack some Antifa fag skull. But that's like I would guess that's maybe 10% out of people who vote Republican. Probably more like 5%.
Well, there's just one flaw when it comes to the trad cons, when it comes to Republicans, when it comes to these types of people, and that's they're not good at adapting to changing dynamics, and they're not good at accepting the fact that the rules are gone. I mean, these are still people that tell their kids to go to college because that's how you get a good job. Well, no, it's not anymore. Okay, but they can't adapt to these changing dynamics. They just can't. They're bad at that. But when you back them the fuck against the corner, and again, though, it's there's some high T men among them that are gonna just fucking pick up some arms eventually. I mean, my area is a perfect example. That's there's not gonna fucking be a mosque built in my town. It's just not gonna fucking happen. All right, that mosque is gonna mysteriously keep fucking burning down. All right. Oh man, it's a real mystery.
Oh yeah,
it's
actually,
not gonna fucking happen.
Yeah, actually, there's this, I'm pretty much there as well, but not really with Muslims, more with fags. They're more the ones I have the big bone to poke with.
Do you now?
Again, I do.
That's kind of poor choice of words.
Well, yeah, bad choice of words. But I'll just say, no homo, but I do have a big bone to pick with them because of the bullshit they've been doing to Christians for the last 20 years. People can pretend that it's only been the last 5 or 10 years, but no, this kind of suing bullshit and ruining
bite them in the ass. This is gonna Here's the thing: if you'd have asked me 5 years ago, are you okay with gay marriage? I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. Sure, whatever. It's not that I supported the homosexual lifestyle. It's just okay, so you get a piece of paper from the government. That's no skin off my back. But when they got it. Now you got to bake them the dildo cake, and we're going to put you in jail.
Yes, which was always the plan. Which is why
I know that was always the plan. But see, that's the problem. They get what they want, and all that results is that it's
Because I'll say this: I was against gay marriage back when I was an atheist because I knew I had no ill will towards religious people. Because most of my family was religious, so I had no problem with religious people, and I knew that's what they were, and I knew that's why they wanted gay marriage. Because I knew gay people in college. I knew they didn't give a fuck about gay marriage. I knew that they have 12, 20 fuck buddies at one time. So,
but herein lies
they were bullshit.
And here's where conservatives can't face the reality is. To some extent, I knew that too, and I remember in high school even arguing with a conservative teacher about the Civil Rights Act and how it destroyed freedom of association. And I said to him, you realize that same logic, that you can't discriminate against somebody based on race, one day they're going to make you hire a gay person as a nanny or some shit like that. Right? And they're like, well, no, it's not going to. I'm like, yes, it is, because you don't have freedom of association. Okay, so one day the cultural mood's going to shift to where you're not allowed to discriminate against gays for any position. Now, gay marriage wasn't barely even on the horizon then. This was 2001, 2002, something like that. But therein lies the real problem. And from a pure legal standpoint, none of this bake the dildo cake stuff, with or without gay marriage, would be happening if we had the right of freedom of association.
Yeah, and you know
And
what the
conservatives
yeah.
never want to face that fact. They never want to face the fact. And I kind of knew that some of this was happening because it's like, this is a fight you lost in 1965. Yeah. You lost this fight before you knew you were in this fight.
Yeah, and you know what the ironic thing about all of it is, though? It's just like with the Civil Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act was the worst thing that ever happened to Black Americans. Because all the K-types got bred out by the fucking R-type shitheads.
Oh, yeah, the welfare state.
And then the Dindus. Yeah, the welfare state came right afterwards. And it's the same with gay marriage now. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but there's more pause pigs than ever. There's more of these weird, fetishes, sodomite fetishes, just exploding everywhere. Like Daddy Trump, that was a big one during the election. I remember that one, Daddy Trump.
Well, I think it was Milo.
Daddy Trump. Oh, Milo yeah, he started that. Yeah.
Well, no, Milo actually had an article where he said, like, coming out of the closet in the big way that they have is actually killing quote unquote gay culture. Now, I don't have a high opinion of gay culture from the get-go, but the point is that, you know, half of this culture is, I mean, this isn't a culture where they can have kids and replicate themselves, obviously, the way a normal culture can. They're a counterculture at best. Well, a counterculture has to be counter to something. You know what I mean? A counterculture can only really define itself by what it's not. When you quote unquote mainstream a counterculture, it becomes nothing. It becomes nothing but just hollow.
Yep.
So that's why you see, I mean, obviously there's a self-destructive streak in homosexuals, period. But that's why you see that self-destructive streak just exacerbated to this insane level.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just kind of this weird. I mean, that's the thing with homosexuals is that they're more miserable than ever because they're not the underdogs anymore. They're the ones on top. They're the natural aristocracy like they have always wanted to be. And now they're miserable. Well, they're always miserable, but now they're like peak miserable. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, Bechtloff, if in the next 3 years we see a drastic increase in gay suicides. Would not shock me at all.
Well, I think I don't know if anybody's crunched the numbers, but you know, everybody likes to talk about tranny suicides because everybody's so transphobic. I bet you tranny suicides are going to go through the roof as this gets more and more accepted.
Well, yeah, like, because let me tell you, I would like, I could only look at this site once, so I wouldn't recommend. Like, have you heard of Sex Change Regret?
I can't say I have. No.
Well, I wouldn't recommend you look at it, but if you want to see just how bullshit this whole transgender thing is, it's the website. But just to tell you, I spent about an hour on it, and I haven't visited the website since because it was soul crushing to say the least.
Yeah, like, I imagine it is. I mean, you know.
Yeah, like I remember the one that got me the most was it was this kid. I believe he became transgender at 16.
Oh, geez.
And he was kind of recruited by this LBGT club because I guess as you know, he was just kind of like one of these smaller kids, low T, kind of shy. And so, of course, the fags tried to recruit him. Of course they do, because that's the people they always go for, the most weak and helpless out of everybody. And let's just say he wrote a letter to sexchangeregret.com going through his story, and by the end he called himself a monster. And then it said in the footnotes that he killed himself a week after he sent that letter.
Damn.
Yeah. Like, to be honest with you, if yeah, and like, hypothetically speaking, not making any terroristic threats here, but I would be bombing tranny doctors, not abortion doctors. Because if nothing else, at least I guess at least to some level, at least there's not enough at least there's some very minor level of sentience in a infant, but like doing that to a 16-year-old kid. I mean, I
Oh,
just
it's monstrous. And again, there is this bizarre anarcho tyranny in Western sexuality right now. That, as I often like to point out, if a 19-year-old got caught with his 17-year-old girlfriend, we're going to destroy his fucking life. He's going to be not introducing himself to his neighbors for the rest of his fucking life. But Todd,
but if you take
Todd
a dick up
Nickerson
the
can be
butt.
on Salon.com promoting actual fucking pedophilia.
Oh my gosh.
That's the fucking world we live in right now. That is the anarcho tyranny state we're in the West right now.
Yeah, and you know what was the hilarious thing is I was on a Discord. Chat with some like a variety of people, mostly skeptics that are more like skeptic people, but more right leaning. And we were discussing pedophilia, and I was just saying, yeah, bash their skulls in. And they're just like, well, they got some mental illness and just some abuse. And then I said, how you mentioned the scalpel and club abuse? Club, because before they mentioned how like one British guy commented about how skeptics use the scalpel approach too much when they should be using the club approach. And I said, you should be using the club approach on this issue. Well, because if you don't, you're gonna get a fucking 12-year-old age of consent.
Here's the thing. I don't actually have a tremendous amount of hatred towards pedophiles. And I know this sounds weird to say.
I don't.
Hear me out. It sounds weird to say. But it's not that I'm at all have any illusions about what they are. They are mentally ill. It is a severe mental illness. And I would love it if we could understand that, try and prevent it in people, possibly even somehow cure it. That would be great. But if that isn't an option, then they have to be put down. They have to be, at the very least, locked away securely, if not put down. Like, look, if there's a rabid dog running down my neighborhood, I'm not mad at the rabid dog. I have a great deal of sympathy for the poor creature. I probably have a tear in my eye as I pull out my 45 and put a bullet in its head. But I still pull out my 45 and put a bullet in its head because a mad dog must be put down.
Yes, I have no, like, again, don't get me wrong. I don't have any hatred towards the people.
Who I hate, who I absolutely hate, is the fucking enablers. Those are the ones. I don't have a tear in my eye. I have a smile on my face and perhaps half a chub if I put a 45 in their head. I don't hate Jerry Sandusky. I hate everyone at Penn State that covered up for him. I hate them with a burning passion. And I hate all the fans that look the other way. I don't hate when an organization, and this happens in a lot of organizations, when they cover up for it, when they sweep it under the rug, when they just push it aside. And I hate the people in the media that are hiding up all these goddamn pedophile rings that are happening at the highest levels. I hate them with a deep burning passion, where I could spend hours torturing them to the point where the hell I send them to would seem like a relief.
Yeah,
that's who I hate in these situations.
Yeah, and honestly, like, again, I remember you've commented on this about the Catholic Church before, and this is why I don't why I am Catholic, but I would say I'm too old school for this current Catholic Church. I'll just say that, and I will not give patronage to them until they get all the sodomites out of the priesthood, because that's the only reason that these child abuse cases did go on, and I know for a fact they're still going on. I know for a fact it hasn't changed. They've just gotten better at covering it up. And I guarantee you, this Pope, Antipope Bergoglio, he's a sodomite, and again, because that's the thing, is that Pope Benedict, the previous Pope, and the actual Pope, in my opinion, he said that he got the sodomites out of the church, but I know that he didn't. because he wouldn't have stepped down otherwise. They forced him to step down. And
I mean, look, any organization, and particularly one where adults are going to be given charge over children, pedophiles are going to worm their way into it. It's unfortunate. It's a shame. It's going to happen. It's bound to happen. Long enough time scale, big enough organization, it's going to happen. Predators go where the prey is. But when it's found out, it has to be fucking dealt with. And it has to be dealt with fucking severely.
yeah,
Right?
and this is the
None
thing
of this,
is,
I'll just move him to some other place. Like, fuck. People
See,
say
this is the-
Walmart
like,
is
this
too
is the-
powerful.
this is
Walmart
the
could
one
never get away
thing-
with that shit.
yeah,
You
this is the
imagine
one.
it's like, yeah, there was a little problem in the toy aisle, but it's okay. We moved him to housewares. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, this is the one thing I definitely can't criticize you Protestants on, is that you definitely don't have this sodomite problem. If a sodomite's find out and he's been diddling kids, you throw him out immediately. While when we have gargantuan institutions like the Catholic Church, of course they cover it up because my reputation, essentially, is what it feels like to me. And like again, that's not the one true church to me. That's not the church of
Generally
St.
speaking,
Augustine.
conservative Protestants, when a pastor is found to be in any manner of sexual impropriety, never mind something as horrifying as pedophilia, but just banging the secretary or something along those lines, he's fucking out of there. All right, he's gone. All right, the fucking secretary's probably never working there again. All right, they're all fucking gone.
Yeah.
The one weakness I will give conservative Protestants is that they are far too lenient on pastors skimming a little bit of money off the top. Yeah, he makes his money and all, but they're far too lenient over, hey, it seems like they're far too lenient over the Joel Osteens is what it boils down to.
Oh my gosh, I hate that. I hate that fucker's face.
Never mind even the guys that have the prosperity gospel, but the guys that, somehow fucking Pastor Joe here is driving a fucking Cadillac when everyone in the church is driving a beat up fucking Volvo or something. You know what I mean? They're far too lenient on that sort of shit. And certainly the pastor has every right to be compensated for his fucking work. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that he has to have some vow of fucking poverty or some shit. But when he's obviously being fucking improper with it. And conservative Protestants they just never want to address that. Sexual sin is basically the only thing they'll call a pastor on, sadly.
Yeah,
That's how you end up with other form of abuse like your Joel Osteens or your James McDonalds.
Yeah, this is the thing that I think, at least from what you're saying about Protestants, that they could learn from the Catholics and the Eastern Orthodox is that the priest does take a vow of poverty, but he's never wanting. If you catch my drift, like he's not going to be driving a Volvo to his church, but he's going to have a car and he's going to be able to take care of his kids. Well, at least Eastern Orthodox. Catholics don't have kids, but Catholic priests don't have kids. But Eastern Orthodox do. You see what I'm saying? They have enough to get by.
I just reminded this one funny bit from an old Family Guy, and I think it was even like the original 3 seasons.
The only good seasons, you mean?
He walks out of there, and Peter just like slips, like I think it's like a 50 into the priest's pocket, and like pats him on the chest, and he's like, "Good talking, Padre. Buy the wife something nice." And I always thought that like one day I just want to do that to a pastor just walking out of a church, like put $100 in his front pocket or something, like, "Good talking, Padre. Buy the wife something nice."
No kidding. Even though that is the one thing that that if I had my way I would change about the Catholic Church is that I think that during the time the law was instituted it was correct, but now I think priests should be married. Especially in these modern, very hypersexual times. I just don't, because again, like when you have people that are ostensibly supposed to be chaste your whole life, of course that's going to attract sodomites, because only males can be priests in the Catholic Church, and it's the same with the Eastern Orthodox. But why the Eastern Orthodox don't have this problem? Because their priests can get married. It's so simple. But it did make sense at the time because pretty much all, like, no matter what version of the Bible you got, every single one of it is sourced from those virgin priests and monks back in, like, basically the 300s to the, let me think, the Reformation. That was 1400s, wasn't it? If I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, because about 500 years ago.
500 years ago.
I think
Okay.
500 years ago this year. Actually.
500. Okay. Okay. So 1500s. Yeah. So that's the thing, is that for the time it was right, because here's the thing about men who stay chaste, is that like they're like Nikola Tesla. They're not interested in women, and so they focus like again. That's the thing, even about these NEETs, is that I will say that some of them impress me, just how much internet sleuthing and the work that they do, because they don't care about women.
Well, look at them chasing down fucking Shia LaBeouf and shit like that.
Exactly, they're useful. Like, chase men are useful for some things.
And I gotta say, sometimes I wish I didn't have a sex drive. I'd get way more done.
Exactly. Yeah.
That brief moment after you nut when you're like free of a sex drive, that's wonderful. That's
I know, you just
fucking,
your
head is clear.
Yeah, and you're just like, man, you're just like, hey, maybe I should get to that book I should have been reading like a week ago. Like, gosh, I think
Which, by the way, ladies, don't bug your man right after he nutted, because he is at the stage where he is least able to tolerate your bullshit. Okay, like, just so you're clear, like be really nice to him right there, because he is he is seeing you more clearly than he could possibly see you.
Yeah, he's already gotten what he wanted, right?
Be nice to him, all right? Don't like that's not the time to remind him of all the faults you have as a girlfriend or wife. Okay.
Oh yeah, and by the way, I think you should hate Sandusky, and for this reason, because you know who the kids that he fucked more than anybody, right? The ones he was supposed to be mentoring, the ones that came from poverty.
And also, I mean, I actually, Sandusky I do kind of hate, but not to the same extent I hate those that were covering up for him, because again, the guy is fucked up in the head. But yeah, just so everyone knows, if you ever feel like rooting for Penn State again, fucking shame on you, because just so you know what that organization was covering up. Once again, let me reiterate, this man was raping little boys. And when I say raping, I don't merely mean statutory rape. I don't merely mean that he was seducing young boys into things they lacked the capacity to truly consent to. I mean holding them down while they screamed rape. Okay, there is no mitigating factors in that whatsoever. Which is why, frankly, I hope that like ISIS blows up a Penn State game. Like, I legitimately hope that happens, because A, attacking football might get us to wake up a bit more. And B, as far as I'm concerned, everyone watching a Penn State game at the stadium fucking has it coming. Because shame on you. Fucking shame on you.
You see, this is the thing. This is why I can never get into sports at all, because again, I remember, I believe it was Marx that said something stupid like religion is the opiate of the masses. Like, no, fucking bread and circuses is the opiate of the masses. Fucking sports is the opiate of the masses. Like, because let me tell you, like, I know people who skip, I know people who skip their church on Sunday, but they never miss their fucking Sunday football.
Yep.
Sure as I'll tell you that.
In Rome, they had bread and circuses. In America, we have corn syrup and football.
No shit. Yeah, I mean, at least the Romans had bread, right?
Well, it's 1:00 in the morning, so I think I'm going to wrap this up, because I do got to try and get myself up at a decent time. I'm living too much of the neat lifestyle. I'm generally a guy who doesn't get up in the morning if I'm not being paid to, but I don't want to get too caught up in that sort of schedule.
Yeah.
You're lazy when you're setting your alarm for 10.
Oh, don't worry, man. I'm not in too much of a better situation right now myself.
Well, see, in all fairness to me, I spent most of my adult life working second shift. So it was only this recent job that I was working a first shift. But, I used to work a second shift, get home around like 12 o'clock. I'd be up till like 3 or 4. I'd get up around noon, maybe run a few errands before work. Second shift's kind of nice. Like, you can actually get shit done.
Oh,
people
yeah.
don't fucking, like, people don't pester you and shit like that.
Oh yeah, but it was nice talking to you, man, and
Oh yeah, good
luck with the job hunt.
Yep. And everyone, if you enjoyed the show, do check out the sponsor, Reconnaissance Man by Aaron Clary. And you'll also see the tip jar where tips of any size are greatly appreciated, particularly in my current situation. So that's all we got for tonight, folks. Thanks for listening. Bechtloff out.